Welcome into Pac-12 Preview. Yes, I am Michael Caratanudo at Diablos00 is where you can hit me up on Twitter. And we can talk, chat, have fun, a little banter about the Pac-12. Yes, the Conference of Champions, while there still is 12 teams. And whew, what a weekend. What a weekend it was. And crazy surprises. Well, one big surprise, I would say. I don't know, crazy for me because, yes, and I admitted on Friday, softball regionals, I hadn't seen a lot of the teams play. Although, hey, I know close close but no cigar. Middle Tennessee State, I picked them to win the Tuscaloosa region. They were this close, man. Oh, man. Alabama got out by they just hung on to get out. So, but Middle Tennessee State, man, hats off to you. I want to say it's the Hilltoppers. But nonetheless, it was insane. A huge upset in softball regionals, ginormous. And of course, unfortunately for me, yes, the homer, and I expect your messages. Go ahead, tweet at me at Diablos00. Put up some messages in here. UCLA hosts their own regional in Los Angeles and loses. It was the first they got upset back. They showed last night on Sports Center. I was checking it out, and I was looking it up when I was at the Mercury game yesterday. Speaking of UCLA, there's a few Bruins on the court. Little Pac-12 power in the WNBA as in the NBA as well. But nonetheless, but yeah, I was looking it up during the Mercury game. It was the first time, and I saw last night again. And I'll credit Sports Center. I have no problem crediting where I saw it. But I was looking it up. UCLA also got upset in 2012. But this is the highest seed ever hosting a regional to not get out of their own regional. So madness. And it was a phenomenal 55 wins or 52. Well, in the regular season, it was 52, but unbelievable what UCLA did softball wise this year. Believable for the talent they had. I shouldn't say unbelievable. I take that back. I retract that. But you look at it, and they're hosting a regional. They're hosting with that Grand Canyon, like I said, on Friday. Shout out to the Lopes. Going to Los Angeles. Grand Canyon actually beat UCLA in the opening game. They beat UCLA, sent them to the losers bracket because it is double elimination. Like I said last week, I really despise calling region anything in this or the College World Series, the losers bracket, but when it's double elimination, that's what they just call it. So yeah, you're really not a loser considering how far you went, but nonetheless, they had to name it something way back when. And my suggestion years back was the double elimination bracket. Because it is double elimination, so just say, hey, the teams that or I don't know. I had some. I think I called it behind the eight ball because now you have to go undefeated the rest of the way to win it. And even if you get to the championship game, you have to beat that team. If the team that got there obviously hasn't lost, you have to beat them twice, and they just have to beat you once, which I think is totally fair. Actually, in softball, it is best 2 out of 3 because I know obviously for the men's college World Series too, but. Nonetheless, so I'll cover that. We'll go through that. Also, baseball wrapped up its regular season in the Pac-12. The conference tournament starts tomorrow at Scottsdale Stadium, the spring training home of the San Francisco Giants for a very long time, to say the least. But it's one of those things where it's the second year of it. It'll be, the teams are down, and it's kind of funny. It's like deja vu. The conference tournament in baseball is opening up, right, with the same game, the same matchup that softball had in the play-in, and it's a rivalry game. 2 of the 3 tomorrow are rivalry games. Put it like that. Because ASU, and they will be the home team in this game, is hosting, well, I say hosting, but at Scottsdale Stadium, U of A, who they swept at Phoenix Muni at home and then got just absolutely mollywocked 20-0 down in Tucson in a midweek game earlier in the season. So Willie Bloomquist definitely not happy with that. Player's not happy, but a manager or a coach that is an alum that doesn't like that team down there, has never liked that team down there. And you have the worst taste in your mouth that you could ever have, getting beat 20-0 just in a one game midweek game. And man, so ASU and U of A kick it off tomorrow in the Pac-12 baseball tournament. And that is 1:00 Eastern, same time as this show gets rolling, but not tomorrow, but Mondays and Fridays, 1:00 Eastern, 10:00 Pacific and Mountain Time. And then the second game tomorrow, USC is the home team, and they are hosting UCLA. And then we have Oregon and Cal to wrap up tomorrow. So, yes, it is round robin. So it is round robin, and then but the finals will be on Saturday. So and then on Wednesday, Arizona plays Oregon State, Washington plays their first game, they play UCLA, and then Stanford plays Cal. Thursday, Arizona State and Oregon State, SC and Washington, Oregon and Stanford. But how we got to this point, real quick, in baseball, wrapping up the regular season, and the results from this past weekend. They went Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thursday, Utah beat Oregon 12-5. Stanford held on to beat Washington State 7-6. And Arizona State got a late walk-off, and they beat UCLA Thursday night 5-4. SC in Arizona got postponed because of weather, and then Cal on Thursday beat Washington, just clobbered Cal 12-1. Oregon took the second game against Utah. They beat the Utes 9-1 on Friday. Arizona in the first game of the doubleheader beat SC 13-4. Stanford wins another series. They beat Washington State 7-4. And Oregon State, they played Western Carolina. They played Western Carolina over the weekend. They beat them the first game 20-7. Then they beat them 23-5 on Friday. UCLA got a ninth inning home run on Friday, and both teams, it was close, and they got a ninth inning separator against ASU, being out at that game on Friday, and UCLA beat ASU 6-3 to tie the series up. Arizona wins the series because they take the doubleheader on Friday. They win the second game 6-3 over SC down in Tucson, and then Cal turned around after getting beaten 12-1, beats Washington 12-7, and then on Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Oregon wins the series. They beat Utah 15-3. ASU won 2-1. Oregon won 15-3 over Utah on Saturday. Stanford beat Washington State 15-5 to win the series. ASU, like I said, beat UCLA 2-1. Cal wins the series. They beat Washington 16-11. Oregon State, they won 8-4 non-conference game. But then USC gets one from Arizona, and they beat the Wildcats 14-6. So when we look at the standings overall, Stanford, like I said, they win the Pac-12 regular season title. They finished 23-7. Oregon State, like I said, they finished 18-12, and they were playing non-conference, like I said, all weekend. So they were kind of at the mercy of what was going on. But they do finish second, making a charge the second half of the season, or second half, well, of the season, yes, but of conference play, I should say. Washington finishes third at 17-12, SC at 17-13, and then ASU at 16-13 is fifth, and then Oregon at 16-14. See, the crazy thing is, here's the crazy thing. Now, and Jack Loader, good friend of the program, we talked about it a few weeks ago. Washington is 17-12, right? ASU is 16-13. They split earlier in the season, the series up in Seattle when ASU went to take on the Huskies. So Washington won the first game. ASU won the second game. The third game, though, was rained out. And look where Washington finished. I said it come back 17-12 and ASU 16-13. So if they play that game, and look, if Washington wins, Washington's be like, okay, we're 18-12. They might have the tiebreaker with Oregon State, right? But if for ASU to win, if ASU won, they'd be 17-13, and Washington State would also be 17-13. Washington, pardon me. The Huskies would be 17-13, but ASU would have the tiebreaker over them, so they would have leapfrogged. So Washington actually would have dropped below SC and ASU. So it's like, again, it happens in the Northwest. We understand it. I get it. But to me, I just think that you have to play that game. And I mean, look, even if it comes down to this, and I get it, the season wrapped up Saturday. Now, yes, when you're talking fair, it wouldn't be fair to have that, but ASU didn't have a midweek game for 2 weeks. I think that it would have been more than feasible to be like, hey, looking ahead at the schedule, UW, like, hey, let's make this game up here. Like maybe after the Stanford series, you go up there and you play the game. Like, yeah, and if Washington wins, great, but you're feeling better because now you got the second seed in the Pac-12 tournament. So it's just, if ASU wins, okay, you're up to 4 because Washington, you would be 17-13 with Washington and USC. Now, USC, tiebreaker-wise, has ASU because they they won 2 out of 3 against ASU. Or did they take all 3? They at least took 2. Yeah, if you're SC though, I mean, you look at that, or if you're ASU, like I said, you look at it, it's a one thing where, and for Washington too, again, it gets you. So it does end up mattering. Like I talked about with Jack Loader, but he said they've canceled, games throughout the years. Yeah, they got swept by SC. They got swept by Stanford, swept by SC, and then they finished on a high note, taking 2 out of 3 from UCLA. So that, in and of itself, a series win, a very good thing. if you're Willie Bloomquist. But yeah, when we look at that, it's comments. What is up? What's up, Derek? And yeah, so it's like I said, standings wise, it's very, very interesting what went down. But Stanford, like I said, the number 1 seed, 23-7 in conference play. And then overall, Stanford finished 37-14. The Beavers of Oregon State, Stanford finished ranked 5th in the country, or was ranked 5th in the country going into last weekend. Oregon State 18th. But Oregon State 39-16, Washington 33-16, USC 33-22-1, Arizona State 31-22, Oregon 33-20, UCLA 27-23-1, and then Arizona 30-23, Cal 24-26, and then Washington State 29-23. But 10-19 in I didn't do the rest of conference play. So after Arizona State at 16-13, Oregon was 16-14, UCLA was 12-16-1, Arizona was 12-18, as was Cal, and then Washington State was 10-19, and then Utah was 9-20-1. But like I said, Arizona 30-23 overall, Cal 24-26, Washington State 29-23, and Utah 22-32-1. So. Yes, so Washington State and Utah not in the tournament. So, yeah, they are not in again. The round robin of the tournament, and that's how it goes. So it's regionals will start on June 2nd. So I'm guessing Stanford's hosting. Oregon State, I think, has a good shot to host a regional. Man, that's I think they have a shot to host a regional. So yeah, we're getting rolling on Tuesday, and yeah, I mean Stanford, Washington. Oregon State and Washington, I think, would have very, very good cases to host a regional. For USC and ASU, I mean USC maybe, depending on again and what happens in this tournament. Isn't, it's not like it factors in everything, but say USC gets maybe to the championship game and even loses, but if they get that far, I mean, I think it would take that for Stanford and Oregon State. Definitely not. They're both hosting a regional. Washington, like I said, I think Washington is that team also hosting a regional, but we'll see what happens. And then, because, like I said, Washington, they open up with UCLA. Tomorrow. Or no, SC opens up with UCLA. So Washington, they open up with UCLA, and Stanford opens up with Cal. So, but I'm really interested in the Thursday game. Well, the 2 Thursday games, SC and Washington, because again, round robin, like they play it. And on Thursday, SC takes on Washington. And when we look at that, when you look at that game, like I said, that could go that could definitely go in USC's favor if they were to win it, like I said, and maybe get to the championship game or semifinal game to be that team to host a regional as well. And then Arizona State, Oregon State on Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific and Mountain Time. That's interesting too, because like I said, the last time they played, Oregon State took the first game, and then Arizona State took the next two, winning the series from the Beavers. And it just seemed like after that, I mean, ASU still was on a decent roll, but after that, Oregon State just started piling up the wins. And I've been talking about it. The Beavers, I mean, baseball wise, they've been a force to be reckoned with for quite a while on the college baseball scene. And so I'm sure that, yes, their first game against Arizona, or their first game, against Arizona on Wednesday, don't want to overlook that. But, yeah, it's very, very it's so awesome. I mean, I know the softball went single elimination, and with this, they're doing, round robin. And then, so that's tomorrow, and then Wednesday and Thursday are those games. And then after Thursday, on Friday, there's the two semifinal games. So the top four that get out of the round robin, Friday at 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific and Mountain Time is the first semifinal game. And then at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific and Mountain Time is the other semifinal game. And then Saturday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific and Mountain Time is the championship game out at Scottsdale Stadium. So, that's where we're headed. And then regionals start on June 2nd. So be a good, 4 or 5 days. So, yeah, I mean, 5 full days off. And for other teams going to regionals, looking to the championship, they might have more 5 days. But if you get to the championship, you're headed to regionals. Again, a full 5 days off after that game. So, yeah, that will be on Saturday, May 27th is that game. But, yeah, I mean, baseball-wise, like I said, it came down to it, and it came down to the end. But, for everybody behind Stanford. So, look, Stanford, to me, still a favorite to win this. And, people always say, oh, well, what why would they want to? They're hosting a regional. Maybe they win one game, on the round robin. Maybe they win one, maybe they win two, but in the semifinals, maybe not play their guys, or, I mean, there's two schools to it. The NCAA tournament, schools that are going, they know they're going to the tournament. And, if they're a 1-2, a 1 seed, a 2 seed, in the conference tournament, like I said, that's, if they go out in the first round or their first game, I wouldn't say the first round, because a lot of them have buys into the second round, but if they go out in their first game, you're like, oh, well, but it's just because you're only watching the conference tournament and you didn't pay attention to the season doesn't mean that a team shouldn't have those, shouldn't have the seed. And same thing with Stanford. I mean, they're going to be hosting a regional, and I mean, chances are a super regional with the way they've played. I mean, the batting order up and down, we saw it, the pitching. I mean, Bruno at the back end, a reliever that's hitting the high 90s, 97, 98, 99. I mean, just a flamethrower to overstate the obvious. But look, man, I mean, Oregon State, like I said, they've been playing well. SC, ASU, I mean, Oregon, we've seen it. And Washington as well. So I think this tournament will give us a good idea of how these teams will do in regionals, whether they're hosting one or not. And yes, obviously it depends on matchups, as we learned with softball. But yeah, I mean, like I said, hats off, Stanford, regular season champs in the Pac-12. The Cardinal get it done. And it's going to be a tough team to beat. Like I said, in this tournament, and like I said, with a full 5 days off, you still get to reset everything you want to do. So if you get to the championship game, you know, of this tournament, like I said, 5 full days off. Again, you can reset. First game of regionals, and then Stanford, like I said, they'll be in their own beds. They'll be hosting. It'll just be, like I said, very, very interesting, though. I think the Beavers host, and I think the Huskies host too. You know, the Huskies, I mean, it'll be close, but I think they get it. And I think from what I've seen, I just think they can do it. So, but as for USC and Arizona State, you got a lot of work to do. I mean, if USC or ASU were to win this, let's just say they were to win it, I think you also throw them into hosting. One of those two, not both. But if USC or ASU wins it, I mean, if Oregon wins it, I still don't think they host. Now, I think their seating would be a little bit higher, so they'd have a chance in whatever regional. I don't think they maybe would go too far from Eugene. But even if Oregon were to somehow win this, I don't see it. But for ASU and USC, teams that have showed during the season what they can do. I mean, if ASU were to win it, I could see Stanford, Oregon State, Washington, and ASU regionals. But again, I think ASU still would be a teeny bit. You're behind the 8 ball, like I said on that one. You're behind the 8 ball. So, somebody like Arizona, who I think will be in a regional. I mean, the only teams I don't think really, well, obviously Washington State and Utah, because they're not even in this. They're not going anywhere. And then, but like, I mean, Cal, they'd have to win it. Arizona, I mean, I know both Cal and Arizona are 12 and 18, but man, maybe 1 or 2 games. I see them in a regional, obviously, where they'll be going. Both of them will probably be shuttled across the country, but that is that. So, but again, it starts Tuesday. Madness will go down. If you can, check it out. If you're in Arizona for some reason, head out to Scottsdale Stadium. It'll be absolutely awesome. And we can see some great baseball from the Conference of Champions, who is definitely drubbed a lot of banners in baseball. So won a lot of rings, hung a lot of banners, all that good stuff. But check it out. But yeah, so it gets underway tomorrow. ASU and U of A kick it off. The Territorial Cup rivalry game. More points for the Territorial Cup. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, it is going to be an awesome tournament. All right, we're going to step aside. I'm going to dive back into softball regionals, let you know who's going to super regionals. I know I touched on UCLA getting upset. I will tell you how they got upset and why. Well, maybe not so much the why. I mean, the games were played, but just a little shocking. But who they lost to and how they got upset. So we'll step aside real quick, and when we get back, we will have a little softball talk and see who's going to super regionals with a chance to go to the World Series and win a national title. Welcome back to Pac-12 Preview. Yes, Michael Caratanito at Diablo00 on Twitter is where you can hit me up. And again, talking about baseball, the conference tournament starts tomorrow at Scottsdale Stadium. So again, you can check it out. You can watch it. If you're in Arizona, go by Scottsdale Stadium. Check out some baseball. And it'll be, again, very good time. Very good time. Sure, you'll see quite a few of these guys at the next level, to overstate the obvious. But it starts tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific and Mountain Time. But let's get to softball because, man, it was a crazy, crazy weekend in softball. UCLA, let's not bury the lead. UCLA, the number 2 seed in the country, ranked number 2 behind Oklahoma and only Oklahoma all season long. UCLA gets bounced in regionals, which is crazy to me because how much I talked about of what they've done all year long. So let's start with that. So Friday night, they're the home team. They're hosting. And like I said, because with regionals, I forgot to mention this on Friday, is that just because you're hosting, you're not the home team every game. So UCLA, yes, their opening game, they're playing Grand Canyon. They're the home team. The next game they play, though, they're the visiting team. Yes, even on their own home field, you're the visiting team. You're batting first, and that's just that. But they mix it up, even though the team's hosting, they said, in regionals. But chances are it doesn't matter. So they're home field, they're in their beds, all that good stuff. Nonetheless, Grand Canyon, the Lopes get the upset, and they beat UCLA 3-2 to send them to the again, down to the losers bracket. Can't stand that phrase, but nonetheless. Then on Saturday, so they're in the elimination game, and then on Saturday, they're playing Liberty. And Liberty ends up beating UCLA, and this is a team hitting-wise. I mean, the pitching, yes, all year. I mean, you look at the scores, 3-2. They lose to Liberty 2-1. So 3-2, 2-1, right? The pitching has been just insanely spot on all year long and dominant. I mean, not just spot on, but dominant for the Bruins. And then they lose to Liberty 2-1. So after their first 2 games, the Bruins are done. Like, this is shocking. I mean, this had shockwaves from LA all the way back to Norman, because Oklahoma was looking at, and again, Oklahoma's been dominant and they're taking one game at a time. But chances are, if both teams get through regionals, both teams get through super regionals, because they'd be hosting. And in the Women's College World Series, again, they'd be on opposite ends. They could be on another collision course to meet in the championship game. Now, yes, a lot of softball left to get to that point, but again, UCLA getting eliminated, shockwaves back to Oklahoma, not only because they won't be seeing them, but like, hey, we got to focus too. So after 2 days, first 2 games, UCLA is done. They are out of their own regional in LA, in which congratulations to San Diego State, because they ended up winning the region. But yeah, I mean, 2 days. And I mean, you just see Coach Inue's interview after the game, Kelly Inouye, and she is like, these seniors have done so much. And yes, they still are going to go down as a, they accomplished so much. And just the shock, because it's not like they weren't focused, not like they weren't ready. But again, you get to these regionals and you might, you can get a dominant pitcher on the mound, of course, with, in softball. And yeah, even in baseball, you're keeping them at softball. I mean, it's much more common to see pitchers go the full game if they can. I mean, there was a few pitchers I know that hit over 100 pitches yesterday or Saturday. Saturday in different games that I was watching. So it's not a surprise if they're dominating, their offense is helping them out, but you might, bring somebody else in, keep it close. And yeah, to me, it just, and that's the difference. I mean, offenses get going, and it's one of those things where you're just like, where our offense isn't producing. I mean, 3 total runs for UCLA scored. If I came into you and said UCLA is going to go through regional scoring 3 total runs, you're going to tell me that they won 3 games each, 1-0, and that's very odd because their offense, again, not producing, and it's not a shot at them. It's shocking to me. That's what I'm saying. Like, having watched them play a huge portion of their games this season, especially in conference play, that lineup just, man, the first time through, okay, but the second time through with a pitcher, and this lineup had a lot of success this year. So, like I said, absolutely, mind-blowing to me that UCLA, first 2 games, bounced, gone, see you later. So that was that. But then on Friday, and I'll go back to Friday real quick. Pac-12 wise, Utah was in a shootout with Southern Illinois, but they beat them Friday, 11-9. Got in the Salt Lake City Regional, hosting as the yes, they were hosting as the Utes were hosting, and so they beat Southern Illinois Friday, 11-9. Yeah, 11-9 on that. And then Oregon, man, and I only caught the 6th and 7th inning, but Oregon hangs on to beat Notre Dame 5-4. Tough, in a very, very tough game there. I mean, Notre Dame, it was and that was one of those games where I'm looking at, like, and I know you hear a 5-4 score could go either way, but like, and then from seeing the highlights from previous innings, when I got in the 6th inning, you see it's like, wow. I mean, both teams making plays, keeping it close, pitching's there. But Oregon holds on for the 5-4 win. 5-4 win there. And then Cal in 8 innings lost to Missouri 5-1 on Friday. Yeah, I went 8. I went extras. And it was, Missouri got, I think, 4 in the top of the 8th. And I thought Cal's like, man, it's going to be huge for Cal to go to the winner's side and do that. But yeah, it was 5-1 in 8. And then, like I said, we saw Grand Canyon beat UCLA, but then Stanford beat Long Beach State. But again, 1 run, 1-0. Stanford wins that game on Friday. And then Washington, the Huskies, with Northern Colorado, they cruised to a 10-2 victory on Friday. So the Pac-12 teams there, again, doing pretty well. Then on Saturday, Oregon got a big 5th inning, but they had the lead. They were going back and forth with Arkansas. If Oregon got a lead, or if Oregon got a lead, Arkansas, answered back, and same thing. But then Oregon had a huge 5th inning and smacked the 11-seeded Razorbacks. Again, told you Utah should have been above Arkansas, and I'll stay on that. Not just seeing Arkansas play in the SEC had 12 teams in regionals, in which 9 went home. So, again, do I think Arizona is better than Ole Miss? Absolutely, but they would have been stuck in Salt Lake, which they wouldn't usually do. Although if Utah was the 11 seed, Oregon wouldn't have been in the Fayetteville region either. But nonetheless, Utah should have been higher. But Oregon smacks Arkansas 10-4. Utah beats Ole Miss, smacks another SEC team 7-1. Yeah. Pac-12 dominance, SEC. It's always been like that, and not really going anywhere. You can sprinkle in a national title, and hey, hats off to you when you do. But overall, history, dominance, till this day, yeah, you got smacked by the Pac. So Utah beats them 7-1 on Saturday, and then Washington beat McNeese 3-1 on Saturday. to advance to the final, the championship game, in which they'd have to lose twice. Stanford, talk about smacking freshman pitcher on Saturday, and she's been absolutely dominant, insane. But they shut out another SEC team. Bye, Felicia's. Like I like to say, bye, SEC. You take on the Pac-12 and you get smacked around. 8-0, Stanford shuts them out. Cal turns around. Good for Cal. Beats Hofstra 7-0 in 8 innings, of course, and they didn't get those runs until the 8th. But, yeah, I mean, it's crazy to me. So Cal beat Hofstra 7-0 in 8 as well. And then, let's see. And then Cal turned around and avenged their loss because they had to play they lost to Missouri, but they turned around and they beat Missouri. So hats off to the Golden Bears because they dropped that first one, which, again, in 8 innings, and it was 5-1. But they beat Mizzou 7-5 on Saturday. Because Saturday, how it works is, so Friday, like I said, 1 will play 4, 2 will play 3. The 2 winners will play the first game the next day. So Oklahoma and Mizzou played the first game Saturday. Wait, no, I thought Cal opened up with Oklahoma. Let me see. No, Cal opened up with Missouri on Friday. Yeah, Cal opened up with Missouri on Friday, so I was wrong about that. Okay, so yeah, so then that's how Friday works. So 1 will play 4, 2 will play 3, and then so the 2 winners, so Oklahoma and Mizzou, will play first on Saturday, in which let me tell you, Oklahoma beat Mizzou 11-0. So then Oklahoma automatically advances to championship on Sunday because they won their first 2. But now Mizzou will play the winner of Cal and who did I say they played? Who else was in their region? Oh, Hofstra. So Cal beats Hofstra 7-0. Now that makes for the third game on Saturday because now Cal will plays Mizzou, has to play Mizzou. So they score 7 in the 8th and win 7-0. And then they have to play Mizzou since Mizzou lost to Oklahoma in an elimination game. And then Cal beat Mizzou 7-5 to advance to the championship game on Sunday, in which they played Oklahoma. I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, Stanford and Washington both won to advance to the regional championship, as did Oregon. So Oregon, Stanford, Washington, and Utah all advanced Saturday. Oregon, Stanford, Washington, Utah, and Cal won their games. And then Oregon did it, winning 2 in a row, as did Utah, as did Stanford, and Washington. So they all advanced. UCLA's done. So now we go to Sunday, yesterday, which if you missed any, man, I'm bummed for you. So the team, if you haven't lost, again, the other team would have to beat you twice. So Pac-12 wise. So Oklahoma puts up 16 and beats Cal 16-3. But again, hats off to Cal. You're in the Norman region, and yes, you want to do better than 16-3. But hey, you drop your first game in extras, you win your next two to get back to the championship game in Oklahoma. Well, it was a drubbing, but nonetheless, hey, so Cal and UCLA are now home, so that's 4 teams left. And then Oregon, what do? Oh, let's do it again to allegedly 11th ranked Arkansas. Let's smack them around. 14-4, Ducks hammer them. Beautiful. Love that. Oh, Utah. Well, it wasn't a hammering, but offensively, Ole Miss could do nothing. 4-1, Utah sending another SEC team home packing. And then Stanford. Hey, Florida, you want to play us again? Okay, well, you scored this time, but Stanford 11 and Florida 2. Bye-bye. So Oregon, Utah, and Stanford all advance to host the regional. And then later in the day, Washington, McNeese. I mean, they came back. It was Washington held on. Number 7, they scored 7 runs and held on 7-6. So Washington, Utah, Stanford, and Oregon, congratulations to all of you. Headed to the Super Regionals, in which, well, it should have been Utah and UCLA, but San Diego State, again, congratulations. Not taking anything away from the Aztecs, as they come out victorious in the Los Angeles Regional. And again, you're figuring San Diego, it's, about what, an hour and, well, I mean, with rush hours, probably 7 hours up to 5, but not crazy traveling distance there. So San Diego State now will head to Salt Lake City. Well, okay, they'll head to Salt Lake City. Oklahoma's the number 1 seed. So Clemson was a 16 seed, and they sent Auburn packing yesterday. Mizzou in the SEC, I mean, look, as much as I wanted Cal to pull the madness upset, but Mizzou, Hofstra, and Cal, really no chance. Oklahoma takes that regional. But Clemson lost the first game to Auburn, but then won the second game because they had won their first 2 and sent Auburn home. So it's just so nice to see these. They didn't deserve 12 teams in. And yes, I know only 1 team can win, and not all of them are ranked. But like I said, I look at Mizzou, I look at Auburn, and I mean, maybe South Carolina. LSU hosted a regional. Oh, let's get back to LSU real quick, because it's funny from last year talking trash about coming to Tempe. Well, they lost their first year. They never got to see ASU. And they went home. They host this year, and the Raging. I said, let's go Raging Cajuns, but I never thought, because again, I saw LSU play a few times this season, and I'm like, nah, I get it. It's competition. That's why you play the games. But holy moly, the Raging Cajuns, the other team in Louisiana, does it. So LSU loses in their Baton Rouge regional, and they will they would have had to go to Seattle anyway, because they were the 10th seed, and Washington would have been hosting. But now the Raging Cajuns are going from Louisiana to Seattle. But yeah, Utah was in there with, like I said, Ole Miss. Again, 12 teams, 9 of them went home. So 6 teams from the PAC, and 2 went home, but there's still 4 left. So we have Utah, Washington, Oregon, and Stanford. But yes, real quick, the Super Regional bracket, which we'll get going this Friday. Oklahoma is hosting Clemson in Norman. And then in the Durham Regional, yes, Duke got out, but Duke. So Stanford, again, shouldn't have been a 9 seed. I think Duke should have been the 9 seed. Stanford should have been the 8 seed at least. And I know Washington was 7, but Stanford definitely could have been 8. I don't agree with that. But Stanford gets to have a chip, but at least they got to play regionals at home in Palo Alto. So they've been home, and now next weekend they will travel to Durham to take on Duke. That's super regional. And then Northwestern, they advanced out of their Evanston, and Alabama, again, Middle Tennessee State. Woo! Took the first game. Alabama won their first 2 to get there. Middle Tennessee State took the first game, lost the second 1-0. 1-0. So, but anyway, Northwestern will travel to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama. Texas able to get out of the Austin Regional. They were the 13 seed. Tennessee almost Tennessee gets out of their regional, so they'll host a super regional. Knoxville, they'll take on Texas. And then Florida State, they were able to win their regional in Tallahassee. They'll take on Georgia it's in Tallahassee. It's Florida State, the 3 seed, Georgia, the 14. And then Oregon, who, sent home Arkansas. They were the alleged 11 seed, which, again, I'll keep saying it. Yes, one team can get hot, this and that. Arkansas shouldn't have been above Utah. Not even close. Not even close. But Oregon proved that for me because, Pac-12 team. And Utah would have done the same thing to them. I'm very confident in that. So Oregon wins the Fayetteville Regional. And now they get to come home for a few days, go back to Eugene, and then they get to head to Stillwater because Oklahoma State took care of business in theirs, outdoing UMBC, Wichita State, and Nebraska. See, the Huskies, like I said, Washington, they will host the Raging Cajuns in their super regional, and then Utah will host, because that would have been crazy, because if UCLA got out of that, obviously, they were the number 2 seed. Utah would have been headed to Los Angeles. But now San Diego State gets to go to Salt Lake City. So Utah gets to stay home 2 weekends in a row. Aztecs, again, saw them in Tempe last year, and they were getting quite a bit back for this season. And full disclosure, I've only seen highlights of games that they've played this season. But I'm not surprised because they had quite a few returners. And pitching-wise, San Diego State was not bad at all. So that is where we are. But what San Diego State had coming back, again, absolutely not a surprise that they could get through regionals. Again, just didn't think they would get through that LA regional. But now Utah hosts San Diego State. So those are the super regionals going on next weekend. And starting on Friday. So it'll be fun. Oregon and Stanford got to travel, but Washington and Utah get to stay home. And we'll see. Washington and Utah both could be headed to the College World Series. And so could Oregon. Washington, Utah, Oregon. Actually, Washington, Utah, Oregon, and Stanford could all end up there. Which, the Raging Cajuns, where they play Washington being at home and they're pitching, seeing what they did. Utah putting up on Stanford, that pitching performance, and they're going to need that on the road, as is Oregon. Stillwater, look, Oklahoma State number 6 for a reason. The Big 12 may have not had as many teams in, but Oklahoma in the Big 12, the number 1 seed, and for a reason. But Oklahoma State gave them a run for their money, so that'll be a very, very awesome potential 3-game series between Oregon and Oklahoma State. Definitely looking forward to that one. Clemson and OU, that'll be interesting. I know Clemson pitching-wise has been pretty solid. So, as has Duke. But, Georgia and Florida State. Alabama and Northwestern. Northwestern still has the pitching. Alabama, look, you survive in advance. You held on. So that, and I understand that. But man, I just think Northwestern brings the pitching on the road too. So we'll see there. But oh wait, I don't have to do predictions till Friday. Yeah, it's because I think it starts Friday. So yeah, I'll mull over it, but I'll have predictions on Friday for this, and we will go from there. But it is again a very exciting time of year. I mean, it's a bummer, but it's an exciting time of year because of the level of competition that we're seeing. So on that note, again, thank you so much for joining me on Monday or on Friday. Check that. On Friday, I'll work on getting some. I'm going to work on getting a guest. Anybody that's been out at the that's going to be out. I'll see who's out at the Pac-12 baseball tournament, and we'll see from there. And maybe softball interview as well too. So. But I'm going to get out of here again. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. And remember, again, basketball playoffs tonight. If you're enjoying those, great. Stanley Cup playoffs, again, have been absolutely phenomenal. Shout out. Oh, before we get out of here, definite shout out. Obviously, Phoenix Mercury, as I was out there yesterday. And it was, again, Brittany Griner's welcome home game, and it wasn't just out there for that. I'll be out there pretty much most of the whole season. So, but yeah, I mean, she had 27 and 10 in her home opener. It was electric. It was a great tribute to her. All parties involved having her home. Her family was there to watch her. I mean, it's the first time since high school that her family was there to watch her play. So, unfortunately, they lost to Eric Wilson, Chicago Sky. I'm sure I'm going to have to hear about that tonight on the Sports Arena. 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific on the No Filter Network. Again, on Twitter at Diablo00. Follow me, we'll see. But again, the Mercury, again, it was so awesome to see Brittany Griner back on the court, and 27 points, 10 rebounds. She also hit a 3. But the Sky just able to inch away in the end, 75-69. But a lot of Pac-12, quite a few Pac-12 players on the court as Michelle Onwere, pardon me, sorry. Michaela, pardon me. Man, I'm batting 1,000. I've only talked to her a few times when she was at UCLA, but again, UCLA. And then, a rival of hers, Katie Sissoko from Southern Cal, also part of the Mercury. So we have 2 Pac-12 players there. And then actually for the Chicago Sky, Christine Angway played at Cal. And then Rebecca Gardner played at UCLA. Ruthie Hubbard, a lot remember her, from Oregon. And then Alana Smith from Stanford. So, again, Pac-12 presence, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Pac-12 presence everywhere. So, but again, shout out to the Mercury. So glad to see Brittany Griner back on the court. And once she can, get through this. And I mean, it was pretty, it was for the first game of the season. She spoke for about half an hour after the game. And yeah, it was just awesome. It was awesome to be there, awesome to see, and would have been better with a victory. But again, 2 games into the season, starting to get chemistry back and stuff like that. I think the Mercury will be good, and especially if Griner's going to put up, 20 and 10 a night, then that'll bode very well for the Phoenix Mercury. But again, shout out. So glad Brittany Griner's home. But again, I'm going to get out of here. I will see you guys Friday. Same bat time, same bat channel. And yeah, don't forget, check it out. Like I said, the Pac-12 baseball tournament, Scottsdale Stadium, starts tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific, ASU and U of A. So you can check it out. But I'm going to get out of here. And like I say, as always, forks up.